Okay, this is the pump station. This is the out of the pump. This is the in. Both pumps have a pressure gauge and a hose bib. It's just how I normally do them. You can drain the pump under pressure by plugging in a hose here. So, this is a bypass station. You're set up to run either on city water or on the pumps. This valve is in the block position. That's open, this is blocked. So, to have the pumps running, the irrigation, you have these two gate valves in the open position, and you have this gate valve in the closed position where it is now. So, to switch from city water, to switch from pump to city water, you put this valve into the off position. It's in the off position now, and you put this valve into the on position, and that's city water. So you can run either off your tanks, or you can run off city water with the flip of two switches. Both must be either open and closed, or vice versa, but they can't be both open at the same time. These are your master valves. The pumps have a filter before the valves. One thing about rainwater is it tends to have more sediment in it. So these can be cleaned out. They need to be closed up good. He needs to plug in city water there. That goes to the 3/4 inch pipe. This is just a stub out from the tank in case you want to do something else with it. This is the line from the tank. That valve stays in the on position all the time. So it looks fairly complicated, but the overall concept is fairly simple. Your tank setup, they're all connected together at the bottom. They connect through here, comes up here. This is the line connecting to the other tank. This is the tank level gauge. Periodically this will clog with algae or whatever, so you just close this gate valve and change out the tubing. Right now you can see that I put about a foot or so of water in all the tanks so I can test all my fittings. Everything seems to be good. This is a first flush device. Now I've labeled everything. This is your sediment trap. You leave this valve at the bottom set to just drip out. You don't want it, you can periodically flush it by just unscrewing it, but if this drains between rains, then the sediment will trap in here. This is good water, but it's going to have a lot of the roof gunk and road debris. So you just kind of open that up to where it's just dripping out. That's maybe even too much. Something like that. It takes a few days for it to drain out. That's what you want. This is the sump pump feed. We are getting a little bit of splash out from the top there, but it's because there's a ball in here. There's a toilet float in here that traps in the sediment right there. So the pump is spraying on that and a little bit of water splashing out, just minor. This is the overflow from the tanks. Now this right here, it's kind of important that this remain visible. There's also not a screen on here. I couldn't find anything here in town. I don't have anything for 2-inch. You'd either have to order something or just put a rock or something so mice can't get in your tank. They're not likely to. I explained to Juan that this is a part requiring maintenance periodically. This is the float valve. This is designed to keep a minimum amount of water in the tank. Now, this periodically has to be unscrewed And silicone gets sprayed all over this thing. You might as well just plan on replacing this every couple of years. That seems to be a pain in the butt for people. You can cut the coupler or cut the 3/4 inch pipe, install a new valve, service that one, and redo it with the coupler. These are actually not rainwater tanks, these are water storage tanks, which was a bit of a curveball. What that means is that there's only one opening on each tank. So normally I would have you with a hose bib that you can just use, gravity pressure feed, but I can't do that here. There's not the parts I need in town to make that happen. You could theoretically cut a T into here, put a hose bib right here. These are your sprinkler valves. 16 valves all set to run off tank. Everything's wired. Everything's labeled. Your irrigation guy knows he's supposed to branch off from here. And he's got to poke up a 3/4 inch line behind the fence and plug into my pumps for the city water backup feed. I've never installed a system without being able to test the timers, so I made sure and wired everything carefully. It's all pretty basic. Your guy should be able to do some basic maneuvering if he has to. This is your street capture cleanup. I poured concrete around here. Not really sure if you'd want to add sandbags out here in the road when the big rains are coming, but there's a clean out trap to that. You unscrew it, you pull it off, you can clean the dirt out. This valve is currently in the open position. This is the valve that diverts water to your sump pump. I just closed it. This should probably be covered with like a fake boulder. That's like a lab valve, so it's probably not designed to sit in the sun. You can get a faux boulder to cover it. So this all feeds with gravity down to your sump pumps. You have a set of two 1 horsepower sump pumps that are moving the roof water and the street water, should you open that valve, into the tanks via the sump pump. The sump pump will move 180 gallons a minute, so it's a pretty robust 1 horsepower set of two pumps. So this is the clean out, because I'm assuming you're going to get a lot of muck from the street. So this will catch the muck before it goes to the tank. You need to clean this out periodically. The tank also has this grate cover on it. There's holes inside there. You take the screws out, you can inspect it. I forgot to mention on the pumps, or maybe I did, but you can plug a hose in your pump system via those two hose bibs, and you can get the water out of the tanks under pressure. Ratio smart timer and the instructions are inside the enclosure. I mounted this on the deck. There's the cord that needs to be plugged in. Now, to finish programming this thing, you will have to have a Wi-Fi signal. You can do it from your phone, but you're going to want to... It syncs to the weather, so for it to work properly, it needs to have its own internet connection for your house Wi-Fi. You basically just turn it on, follow the instructions. The instructions are inside the outdoor enclosure, and it's going to take you through each of the 16 zones. And basically, you can take a picture of what they're going to water when they're watering it. I would encourage you guys to test this before you build all your sprinkler matrix. I've tried really hard not to get anything cross-wired, but it's almost impossible not to mess something up when I've got this many moving parts and no way to test everything. However, I think you're okay. I was really super careful. Your downspouts feed in a shallow trench. It's buried about 4 inches deep. This side comes above the doorway, down in the ground. I wasn't able to test this. Should be fine. These do need to be painted. This type of material will get brittle in the sun. So the leader heads need to be painted, and the pipes themselves need to be painted. We ran, several hundred gallons of water into the tank to check all our fittings. I've tested the pumps. I pressurized them. Everything seems to be working. These downspouts feed into the ground, coming along here, joining with this trench system that you can still see an outline of, and heading to the sump pumps. You're all set, and I wish you many happy rainstorms.